18th time's a charm.
I hope not.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Valley of the Mist Block of the Month. I'm Adriane Ritter.
And I'm Shelley McNeely.
And we're here with the October 2022 Block of the Month. If you are doing this for the Guild drawing, these blocks are due at the November 2022 meeting. And please go on our website to Valley of the Mist Quilt Guild, and either under Block of the Month or in the newsletter for October are written instructions with photos, if this video isn't going to be enough.
Right.
It's hard to believe, but.
I know.
Okay, so Shelley's going to go over with us what fabric we need for the blocks.
Okay, so you're going to need the focus fabric. If you turn it into the Guild, you need this focus fabric. We've been using it all year. If you're just doing it for yourself, whatever focus fabric you want to use. A white, and then coordinating fabrics from 1 to 4 different colors. I'm using 2, but it'd be between 1 and 4. We'll talk about that in a minute, how that works.
Okay, so then what do we need for this particular block size-wise?
Okay, the focus fabric needs to be a 1.5 by 21 inch strip. And then for the white, you need 1 4¼ inch square, 2 3 3/4 inch squares, and 4 4 3/4 inch squares. Okay, so for the coordinating, we're going to need 4 squares that are 3 3/4 inches. So that can be between 1 and 4 different colors, however you decide you want to do yours.
Right, and I guess if you have scraps, you could even do some of that. I mean, because we do cut these into triangles, so we're just going to end up needing 8 different triangles.
Right.
Okay, so I do want to mention that in this sizing, the squares that we asked for that are 4 3/4, these are the squares that are going to go in this outer corners. And if you do the math for a 12 inch, because our blocks are always 12 inch finished, they really should only be 4.5. But depending on how accurate you are with your 1/4 inch seam, I gave you an extra 1/4 inch. If you don't need that extra 1/4 inch, if you have a good 1/4 inch seam, go with the 4.5. Because it does make it a little bit oversized, and it can be squaring it up. You would definitely be squaring it up.
Yeah.
I could say definitely, most likely, which is very, very vague. But I just tried to leave you a little room to have some wonkiness in your seams. But it does cause you to potentially have problems with points on the stars, right, if you make them super big. So if you're going to do the 4 3/4 inch size square, do not do a scant 1/4 inch seam. Do a generous 1/4 inch seam. Okay, that's all I need to say about those. I think so. Right? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So now the first step, we're going to make what we call sub-block 1, which is this center part of the block. And it's super simple. You're just going to take that 4 1/4 inch square. There's only one of them, and you're going to take your focus fabric strip, and if you don't have a strip, you can use smaller pieces, but do the math, figure it out. You're just gonna border this square with this strip of focus fabric. So the way Shelley and I did it was we did this side and then we did the opposite side, pressed them out to the focus fabric, and then sewed on the last 2 seams. Now, if you like to just go concentrically around the block, you can do it that way too. But we just want you to get this center block, and the finished size of that center block when you're done should be about 6 1/8 inches. Now, we don't usually mess with eighths, so I actually have this sized, so if you do very accurate 1/4 inch seams, you will end up with 6 1/4. You just don't want it bigger than 6 1/4. So keep that in mind. You want it 6 1/8 to 6 1/4, somewhere in there, and trim it to that. Okay, and so we will come back with these center blocks.
Right.
Okay, so we're back with our sub-block ones, all nicely sewn and pressed. How big was yours, Shelley?
Well, it was pretty close to 6 1/4. I trimmed it down a teeny bit, just because I don't want it to be too big.
Mine was, mine's actually a little wonky, so I didn't trim it. I forgot to mention, it's actually easier to sew this if you have your focus fabric strip on the bottom, and then you know exactly where to stop. And on my first one, I had it on top, and so I was more busy watching where to stop sewing than my 1/4 inch seam.
Yeah.
So it got a little weird, but you know, there was extra. Okay, so now our next step is to take all of those 3 3/4 inch squares, and you should have 6 of them. There's 2 white and 4 of the coordinating fabric, and you're going to cut them on one diagonal to get 8 triangles. Then you're going to take this sub-block 1, and you're going to lay it on your design wall or whatever you use, like, oh, I have one right here. And you're going to take those triangles, and I will set this up here, and you're going to arrange them in an order that you like. Now, I will tell you, having one of these portable little design wall things are very convenient for this block because it does get a little crazy. So it's hard to see. Shelley, you can see on hers her background. My background squares are very light white with just a tiny bit of green in them. So you just want to arrange them so basically you have a corner square and it's got 2 triangles hugging adjacent corners of each corner square. Okay, and we're going to make 4 of those units, and we're going to call that sub-block 2.
Okay, I'll take my extras off so you can tell what we're talking about.
Yeah, so you don't need these little center triangles. You really just need what Shelley has left up there. So what was I just going to say? Totally had a brain fade there.
We're going to make these now.
No, that isn't what I was going to say. Well, whatever. I'm sure it was important, and I'll come back and tell you it later. So we're going to, this is where you're arranging your colors. And some people, like in Shelley's original block, she did it she did it very organized. You can see her colors, they repeat in the same order. Mine are kind of random. I just kind of made sure that I didn't have 2 of the same color next to each other. And I did the same thing on this block. So I'm not that worried that I rearrange them. I'm just going to try to keep it so I don't have 2 colors. She's only using 2 colors.
Right.
So she kind of has to be.
Yeah, well, it's more like, do I want 2 colors here to the same, so on opposites, or you know?
Right, right.
I decided to do it.
Yeah. So it's really totally up to you what you find pleasing. Okay. So now when we sew these on, I want you to take and the only thing you have to watch, as I picked it up, so I realized it'd be hard to show you. You care about this corner, which is the corner where the 2 coordinating fabrics are going to touch. And I want you to line up the triangle at that edge just so you have it extending enough that where this hits, it's the 1/4 inch. So it's a 1/4 inch in on this triangle. And then whatever comes out to the end, at the other end, is fine. We'll just let it go. Oh, so I am a little worried about that. Because that's a little big.
Mm.
So, so the worry on this is that you have points.
Yeah, because that's the problem with stars. Everybody wants their points, even though, you know, we talked about this. Stars aren't pointed.
Yeah.
But in quilting,
I think you and I talked about it.
Yes. But in quilting, they're supposed to be pointed.
Right. So I'm actually gonna reverse that, and I'm gonna say, I want you to line up so you have a 1/4 inch on the other side, and then whatever is over here, sew that down. And that way, when we get to the edge, we will have that 1/4 inch around the outside. Okay, because I think I've told you before, when we do the calculations and figure out what size squares we need of fabric, if it comes out to an 1/8, we usually, or a 1/16, we round up to the nearest quarter. And so most likely I had to round up. And so that made these triangles a little bigger. And it makes it easy for you to make sure your block is big enough, but it does make it harder to get those points to come out right at the edges. So I hope that wasn't confusing. I want you to take the block and measure so that, and maybe sew from this outer edge in so that this is right at a 1/4 inch, and then however that falls into where the two meet, we'll be happy, okay? So you're gonna take each of these white corners and you're gonna sew on the 2 adjacent triangles. And we'll come back and we will have 4 of those sub-block 2s. Okay? And what did I say about pressing? We're going to press them open. Okay? All right, see you in a minute. All right, so now we're back with our 4 sub-block 2s, which we have up here. So there's a few variables here. Some of the variables are, if your triangles if you free cut them and they're a little wonky, if your 1/4 inch seam is a little big, is a little small, whatever. It changes the size of how these pieces overlap. And so there's only a worry if it's too big at this point. And the too big would be if this seam here, like on this one, is more than a 1/4 inch, because then it'll shove this corner out too much and it'll make it not look right. It won't look starish as much. So it's a very simple fix. If this seam is less, don't worry about it. And it really shouldn't be a lot too less, because then maybe your seams are really big. But if it's less, also this is that it, where these meet here, you might not have that point, but you will still have these points, so that's fine. So it doesn't even matter.
Right.
Okay. So what we want you to do is to take a ruler, and it just has to be at least 6 inches wide, I think, and you're gonna line up so that you've got a 1/4 inch right at this tip. Let me do that. Okay. And then you're going to kind of straighten it out so it looks like it's straight on the 2 edges with these 2 side seams. They're probably going to be a little wonky. Just try to get it, and then after you get that, get as close as you can, and then try to look, does this point, is it going through the same line at the top and the bottom? And then you're straight, okay? It's not a particular point, it's just the same point. And when you get that, then we just want you to trim off what's above that 1/4 inch line. And now you're straight, okay? Simple, do that. Now, so now we have made our 4 sub-block 2s, and we need to make 2 sub-block 3s. Well, you've halfway made your sub-block 3s because we make them with the sub-block 2s.
Right.
So you're going to take away 2 of your sub-block 2s. You don't need them right now. You just need these 2 blocks, and they're in opposite corners. And we're going to take these leftover points and we're going to make these into a bigger triangle. And we do that by sewing them onto the edges of either side. Okay? So Shelley's going to show the alignment of those.
So at the 90-degree area where they 2 meet, line that up and fold them over and sew it actually from that point. It's much easier.
Yeah, that way it doesn't chew up into your sewing machine, because it's just
across
a
this
corner.
seam.
Yep.
And you do that for all 4 of these smaller white triangles.
One on either side of that sub-block 2. And these ones we also want you to press open.
Right.
And then we're ready to come back and get ready to assemble the block.
Right.
All right, so we just sew those 4 points on, and we will be right back. All right, so we have all of our sub blocks made.
Right.
So here are the ones that we just sewed, and we're going to take those down for a second. These beautiful big triangles. And the next step that we do is we're going to sew these, the sub block 2s to sub block 1. Okay?
Opposite sides.
Opposite sides. And so you're just going to line them up. I would center them. You know, center the point of your background to the center of this piece. You could kind of fold it and make a mark, you know, with your fingernail and then line that up. So those two on, press those open again, and then the next step we're just going to talk about now is going to be to sew this piece, do the same thing on this center it on that side, and we're going to sew those two sub block 3s to the completed sub block 1 and 2s, and you'll end up with giant block 4. Oh no. Okay, so we will come back with this one. You know, I was commenting to Shelley that I should change the name of what we call ourselves to sew them by the seat of our pants.
Because we are. We do change things as we go if we have to.
Yeah, I mean, we make lots of sample blocks, and then we get tired of making sample blocks and say, let's just go with it.
Because we're trying to make it so it works out good for you, and we try to make the mistakes ourselves, but sometimes there's too many mistakes.
There's ongoing mistakes. No,
I wouldn't actually
no,
not
it's
mistakes.
ongoing creativity.
They're really not mistakes. We're just trying to make it so it looks the best.
Yeah, and as we've said, I think almost every month of this year, stars and improv are not compatible.
They aren't.
So we are doing our best to be improvisational and not kill your points.
Yes.
So we should have made stars that look more like flower petals.
Right.
Okay, anyway, so we're going to come back with this block sewn together, and we'll look at it, and Shelley will kill me if it's wrong again, but I'm sure, I'm positive I have my geometry correct this time.
Yeah, she doesn't do geometry.
All right. Okay, we're back, and we have our final block.
Right.
The struggle is over. Now, we have these sewn, and let's see. So Shelley's got a little bit bigger. Mine is fine. I haven't trimmed it. I've got the 12.5. Hers is a little bigger.
And that's because I use the bigger corners pieces.
Right.
So
yeah, her corner pieces were the full 4 3/4, and she didn't really have to worry about her seams all the way through it. She just, sewed a 1/4-inch seam, a comfortable 1/4-inch seam.
Right.
Okay, so that's our final block.
Two more to go.
Oh, you're right.
Two more to
November,
go.
December. Yep. Shelley says I haven't made my November block yet, and she says it's a little tricky.
No,
We both made our December block, and we're really excited about that one.
We actually love them both. So
yes,
we look forward to showing you that.
Yes, I did finally finish quilting. I'm putting on the binding right now of last year's block of the month, and Shelley is ready to put hers on the frame and start quilting.
Pretty close. Yeah.
So maybe for our next video we might show those, but if not, definitely come to our quilt show, which is going to be like the day after this block comes out, because it's the 1st of October.
Right.
And so that's an outdoor quilt show in Temecula, in Old Town Temecula, and we will have our last year's block of the month on display. I'm tying you to it, Shelley.
Oh yes, I'm planning on it. Totally planning on it.
All right, so we will hopefully see you all at the quilt show and at the meetings.
Okay.
All right.